Hi YouTube, so you are here for what will hopefully be a passable attempt at delidding a PS3 set of CPUs and GPUs. So I've come across a little trick myself which works very well for me and may work well for you. A lot of people have suggested using sort of flattened tools and filing and all that sort of thing, but I found this way worked really well for me. So I'll bring you out and I'll show you one of the parts that you'll need to delid, and happily it comes along with one of the heat spreaders. So on the heat spreader you have this exceptionally thin piece of metal, and there are a couple here, there and everywhere. One of the ones that I like to use happens to be on the DVD drive. There's just on the back there, there's one there. There are a number of them, like I say. There's ones on the back of the heating element as well somewhere. Cooling element, sorry. Where are you? Oh no, sorry, it's there. Just there. That one there. And another one there. So if you needed to delid it a number of times, you can. So without further ado, I'll get on with it. So what I'm doing at the minute is just clean off all the gunk that's on the top of the CPUs that comes originally with the manufacturer. This stuff dries out over a time, doesn't really conduct very well. This particular unit runs at about 70 degrees at max fan check, so it's not very quiet when you want to keep it cool. So what I hope to do is bring it right down so it will run at around about 60 degrees at about 22% fan RPMs. I've been using Webman mod and Multiman. I think it's Webman mod that you can do all the fan controls, so that's quite a good utility if you're on custom firmware. This one's been hacked. It's running Cobra. Like I say, it runs a bit hot, so because it's from a little boy, he's not really going to be paying attention to fan temperatures, and I don't want him burning it out when he's playing Super Mario. Yes, all I'm using is a bit of toilet paper and isopropanol 99.9%. Fairly cheap and easily readily available on eBay. Okay, so what I like to do is just fold it back, get a bit of metal fatigue in there, crush it, go back and forth a few times, and it will just snap off eventually. Okay, so there we are. And this bit of metal is ideal. Like, it is actually perfect because it's, I don't know if you can see, but it has a slight hook in it. Okay, and with a little bit of movement, you now have the perfect sort of scooping action that you can get on there, and it's just the right length so that it won't damage any of the components underneath the chip as well. It is perfect, you know, and it's free as well, so perfect again. We're a big fan of free stuff on this channel. Not nicked, free. Let's put that one in there. Yeah. Don't want you getting the wrong idea. Okay. So, I don't think I've got a torch. Oh yes, I've. I'm going to bring you right in close so you can have a look and see what's going on. A bit of light on the situation. Okay, so on the cell, I think it is, there is a little gap in the seal that goes all the way around and joins the heat spreader to the chip itself. And the idea is to get the piece of metal between the heat spreader, I'll just bring it into view, and the there it is. So that's just popped straight in there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of force in that direction, and then the reverse, and do it in that direction, and hopefully we'll release this whole edge here, and then we'll go around, working our way all the way around the side of the CPU to get the heat shield off. Okay, so I'll get on with that. Let's bring you out of the way. That's a bit better. Put a bit of zoom on there. You can see what's going on. Okay, so another way of sort of helping yourself out when you're doing this is to brace the back of the board up against something flat, like a wall. So I'm going to butt this up against the wall so I can put some force on the side of this cutting edge, and hopefully I won't gouge the top of the CPU, which would be a disaster, and then we'd have a duff CPU. Okay, so we're all moved over. Tighten that. Watch off. I'm not going to scratch anything. It's also a good idea to use anti-static precautions if you've got any. We don't have any of that here, so I don't tend to bother. Good tip though, earth yourself out on the body of a computer, because that's earthed, if you've got a 3-pin connector, which generally you usually have. Okay, so I'm going to hold the little bit of metal, and I'm going to use the end of a toothbrush just to poke it along and hopefully get it released. Okay, so she's moving along, and out we come from the other side. It is really as easy as that if you're lucky. Another tip, if you look at your bit of metal, it's hard to get that in focus, it's not going to do it for me, but you might find right on the end here that when you bend it out, you end up with like a little bit of a pokey that you have to straighten. So what I use is my tiny little grips here, just to flatten the edge out, and that'll make it nice and square so that you don't have a little bulge sticking out at the end, which will gouge the top of the CPU, and you don't want that because, like I say, it'll ruin it. So I'm just going to straighten it up, pop it in again, and then push in the other direction with the board facing the other way. Pop it in the little hole, square up your push-in part, and away you go. Okay, so that's one edge completed. The reason I'm doing the cell CPU first, this one here, is because on this one there's a slight gap, and with this heat spreader removed, it makes it a lot easier to get to that gap where there's no components in the corners here. In these corners right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's some RAM chips that are attached to the top of the graphics processing unit, and they can get in the way, so you can't really hook it from the edges to break the glue. But right here, here and here, there are passives and capacitors as well, so very tiny small surface mount capacitors, but right in this location here there's none, so it makes it a perfect place to stick in any tool that's rounded, or it's not going to gouge the top of the CPU again, so that you can remove it. Like I said, there's a little trick for that one as well I found that really makes that easy to get off. So once I've got this off, I'll show you that one as well. Okay, so I'll pop that way. Just against the back here. I'm going to feed it in nice so I don't gouge the top. Real gentle. If you can't get it in the side, just pop it in the gap where the seal originally was, and then just push it round again. Should go a lot easier this time. Okay, so I've made it round to the corner. Just going to turn it. Heat can make this a lot easier as well, so if you've got like a hairdryer or a heat gun, go easy with the heat gun, because you don't want to try and re-ball it thermally. That's a bad idea. It does not work, don't try it. I also recommend not using the oven as well, because that'll nuke the board. We live and learn. Okay, so we're in place, so I'm going to try and push this down. Okay. Okay, so that edge was a little bit harder, but that's 2 out of 4 done. Okay. Let's move the camera. Let's see what's going on again. Just going to pop something underneath the board so that we don't get quite so much deflection, because you don't want to damage the board, so any support you can give it will be best. Okay, that makes it a hell of a lot easier. Okay, so that's one more done. Pop that under there. Turn it around. And off she comes. Easy as that. Yeah, so like I say, there is a slight gap in the seal just here, and what I'm doing is popping the tiny edge, which is literally perfect. It's perfect depth to get in there and cut this rubber seal out of the way. And now what I've got is a heat spreader that's been removed, obviously, and this really dry, crusty thermal compound, which is absolutely, you know, it's well gone. You know, I don't know how old this unit is, but you know, it's an original sort of CECH CO3, I think it is. So it's going to be well old, you know. Time to replace. Okay, so with that one taken out, here's another little trick for getting the heat spreader off. So what I have is a Victronics toolkit, portable toolkit, I don't know what it's called. And on it, one of the tools that comes with it, very useful, is a bottle opener. But it's profiled just right. Got a flat side this side and a angled side this side, and the quality of the build is quite high, so it's all rounded edges, no sharps, but on any surface. So it's ideal, and the flat surface is on the thinnest edge, if I'm accurately describing that. So what that means is that you can place it on the top of the RSX, pop it in there, just under that, and with only a couple of very light taps, you will break the cement that holds the heat sink on, and that'll take it off then. So what I'll do again is I'll butt it up against the wall and just give the back end of this thing a couple of taps, and really very lightly. And if you're worried about sort of gouging the top of the CPU, then what you can do, if you don't have this particular tool, or even if you do, is just pop a little bit of tissue over the edge, and that'll help disperse the point loadings on the top of the chip. Grab my phone, double check that I'm not feeding you full of crap and there is no passives underneath there. I don't know if you can see, but I cannot see any there. So yeah, it seems that on most models it is the same. Okay. So just fed it in there a little touch, and all I'm going to use is sort of the back of a screwdriver. I think that's a bit big, maybe a slightly smaller one, and just give it a few taps here, there and everywhere, and eventually it will break free. Right, so there's a slight crack there, and what that'll mean is one of the or two of the cemented chips will be free of the heat shield. Yeah, so that's one side done. So I'm going to keep driving that in little bit by little bit, and then we should there we are. Cheers easy. Yeah, no chips attached to the back end of that, so they're stuck to the top of the top of the chip, so sorted. Okay, so what I've done is here I've removed both heat shields, and I'll clean them up ready to pop back on in the same orientation. Get rid of all the glue, get rid of the cement there and the thermal compound there. So far as I know, let's bring that back into. So far as I know, the tops of these 4 RAM chips here are only cemented. They are different to the thermal compound that's used on the centre die, so it's not really particularly relevant to well, anything really, but it's information. You know, free information is good information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the cement and the thermal compound.